Suicide Squad, issue 5. Tom Taylor writing, of course, Bruno Redondo on the art. And this was another one, even though this is one of my favorite books right now, where it started and I went, okay, why were they after Boomerang again? Like, I remember the gist of it, but
but it came back quick, and then this book went places.
Joe, I knew that this was doing something because I'd seen Taylor retweeting things of people, tweeting at him. Nothing spoilery, nothing explicit, but more just, I can't believe you did that, and what the hell?
Yeah,
well,
and I thought, oh, does he kill someone major in this issue? Because it's Suicide Squad, right? Yeah, I thought maybe he killed someone.
And there's a moment, well, he kind of does. There's a moment or two. There's a moment where he convinced me, like, he might kill Boomerang here. Like, they might have given him the green light to kill Boomerang. It felt like that at one point. And it doesn't happen. I mean, he gets beat up pretty, in depth, but.
It's kind of messed up. We thought that Australian Tom Taylor was going to kill Australians based on no other evidence behind what Twitter was saying.
But I think what this does that I think is really unique and interesting is that it's basically the end of issue 5, which I don't know if this counts as the end of the first arc. I don't know if I would count it as that necessarily.
I think it would. Just that final silhouette definitely feels like an end capper.
But
to whatever's next.
But what it's done here,
the lock arc.
But what it's done here is that it's basically said this isn't just a Suicide Squad book. It was never going to just be that. The first arc, they were operating like a Suicide Squad, but the actual story that's just the prelude to what they're actually going to be doing. To the point where this isn't. I mean, it's called Suicide Squad, but it doesn't really feel like one anymore.
Now there's no Waller, and Locke, their handler, has just been taken out in a fantastic. Fantastic artistic touch by using the Comics Code logo.
Oh wonderful! Yeah, it censors it because presumably he wanted to go. I mean, this is the thing. Like, there's various levels of this they could have just shown in the panel, but they made the choice to cover it up with that to imply something so vicious that like they
couldn't get it past.
It's genius.
Yeah.
No,
so
it's funny.
From I think issue 2, I was saying this reminded me of Gail Simone's Secret Six, which when it started was Villains United, which. We thought it was going to be one thing when it started because of all the main villains associated with Infinite Crisis on the cover. But then it became like these second-rate heroes here in the protagonists. And then they became their own team and they didn't operate. This is what this feels like. This looks like it started as a Suicide Squad, but now they're full on their own thing.
Now it's basically a group of freedom fighters who are doing their own thing because they believe in what they're doing. It's not about following some government stooge.
Improvising.
Basically, this whole new team plus Deadshot and Harley.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And Boomerang, I guess.
What's left of the revolutionaries?
Well, I mean, obviously this issue spends time getting us to really know Jog, because the end of last issue was Jog, the explosion going off when Jog was running towards Boomerang, and it starts off with a bit of his backstory. We get a bit of character, so we care about him. We see him on fire, and then again at the end, he basically sacrifices himself by like stealing all of the detonators for their neck, their neck bombs. All but one. His basically, he left his till last.
You think he knows his is last, like that, and he intentionally made that choice?
I think so.
A poetic coincidence.
I think it's more of a heroic choice that he's made, that he left his till last, because if he can't get to one, he'd rather it be his.
Well, and
I get that thought of and why you would like to that, but I don't know if there's any way for him to know who's got which detonator.
No, the way that I read it too is that he is very selfless, because you see a lot how he got onto Osita's radar was helping out with fires and helping people throughout his home country, and that was just his thing. He was a superhero, for lack of a better term. And when he joined up with them,
and I just realized I'm going to have to learn all these names now, because they actually make Survive beyond a few issues.
I mean, I know at least some of these. I think it was Airy and Wink, although I could be wrong on that.
No, it's Airy and Wink.
Are showing up in the Deceased digital first.
Yeah, we mentioned this last week, did we not?
Yeah.
So I just mean in terms of why, in terms of them not just surviving past this arc, but becoming part of. I don't want to say wider continuity, because Deceased isn't continuity, but more just they're going to show up.
Yeah, they're going to be more prolific.
Wolverine, I get Laura and Angel vibes when I see them together, just because the wings and
sure. And I think it's worth mentioning the editor's note sort of thing at the very end of the next time. It says next week, although I'm pretty sure it's not. schedules move. It says, we'll see the Squad on the run in the Flash annual issue 3.
Yeah, so
wider context.
So the thing is that annual I thought I would be skipping because it may not be that important to the run, but now it's more relevant to Suicide Squad. I'm reading that now.
I'm now considering maybe I pick up the annual.
Yeah. So I want to talk about how good the art is. The title page, the silhouette of the fight behind the text or inside the text more accurately, and then also the stomp.
Nailed that title moment.
Yeah, but the stomp on Boomerang's face at the bottom of that page, I love. The squish of his nose with the boots on top of him is just wonderful.
Mm-hmm. What's really interesting is the art in this book, the way the colors, it actually reminds me of more of Marvel's house style. And I think it's more the coloring and the way the layers are separated, especially on that Boomerang panel.
Honestly, I think it's not so much that one house style is better than the other, but there's definitely some DC books that benefit more from this style, and I think equally there's probably some Marvel books that would benefit from DC style.
Yeah, I didn't say that it was better. I just said that this reminded me more of Marvel's house style, and I think it's very appropriate for this book. I think it works excellently in this book, and I think there are reviews that me and Pete have done in the past on some Marvel books where we've said the house style definitely didn't work for it.
Yeah. Even Harley stopping Osita from killing Boomerang and her making the choice.
I love that scene.
Yeah.
I will shoot you. I mean, not fatally, but
yeah. Even just the way the bullet ricochets off the car, because they're in like a junkyard. If you don't remember, if you're just listening to us, that is obviously we all know because we're all looking at it right now. But and you've got Jog at this point, half of his face is burned, right? He looks like shit.
It's kind of melted shut.
Yeah, but Osita does this thing where she puts boomerang in his hand and just like crushes his hand out of the boomerang, so there's just blood pouring from his hand. I'm like, that looks painful as shit. Good stuff. So they take him in, and Locke's over the comms being furious. He's like, someone talk to me. I did appreciate the reminder of all the names because there's a lot of new characters still. Yeah. So
I think it was a little weird how late in the issue that they were telling me these names. It wasn't like as they were coming up throughout the issue. No. It's more just here's the lineup shot of them like halfway through.
I kind of get it though, because it's like, okay, it's an easy one to do it on because they're all together. It's one big image.
They're all there.
I'm thinking more like when I traditionally think of this sort of ongoing thing, like a Legion book where the first appearance of said Legionnaire in an issue will kind of have the box next to them.
Do you think this might be a conscious choice? Because the moment it's about to happen that we're about to end the issue on is really when the team becomes the team that this book is going to be about. And it may be a conscious thing where normally this is earlier on, but no, this is about the dawn of this team being this team.
Right.
Because Locke's standing there, he's got like a shield so they don't hurt him.
He's got Zebraman's he's on that. Also, I don't think someone has written Boomerang as well as Taylor, because when he looks, he's on his knees and cuffs in front of Locke, and he says, "Did you get a haircut or something, Waller?"
I love this moment here. I love the pacing and the art here as Locke is saying, "Hey, Deadshot, kill Boomerang," and he's like, "No, that wasn't part of the deal." It's like, "No, you do it. I own you. Do it." And there's this, the panels get thinner, and it's these close-ups of the mouse shouting, and every time it goes to Boomerang though, I love that he says, "It's okay, Floyd. No hard feelings." Like, I like him sort of accepting it, and Floyd's like going to do it, and then we get the bang, and then of course it's the.
I think it's really effective doing this on the end of a double page spread because it ensures that there's no way you can see ahead.
Yeah,
like
right. You have to turn the page, and then
much like
I was shocked.
Yeah, much like like a movie or something where you get the gunshot and then you don't see what the gunshot is, and then you see it in the next page. Deadshot made a choice here. He made a choice to fight back, and he shoots Zebraman instead, which kills the shield, and then he shoots Locke in the face.
And this is the quote unquote sensitive moment. Yeah,
and it's like, and I legitimately went, holy shit! I did not see it, because they spent time setting up this character, but it doesn't. At the same time, it doesn't feel like a waste of the potential they had, because it feels like the whole point of this was to say, no, this book is not this, and you thinking it was a subversion.
Well, it built Locke up enough that Deadshot making this choice to blow his head off feels really deserved and earned in like 5 issues.
It means something.
Right, we know he's a bastard from what and then even his design speaks to like, oh, I wonder how he got that scar on his face, right? Like, what happened to put him in the position of lording over the Suicide Squad, and it all seemed to like, oh no, he's gonna be the big bad of this, and then Tom Taylor goes, nope, gotcha.
It was great because I think it was last issue we had the idea that he's actually reporting to someone and he's not the big bad, but he still didn't feel expendable in
which is important. Which is important to remind us. It's important to remind us of that though, because it means that we do still have a big bad. We still have someone who's going to be coming after the squad, who's going to be wanting vengeance for us, and we'll get to who that is in a minute. Don't jump ahead, Matt.
I'm not jumping ahead.
I know you want to talk about it.
I'm confused. That's all.
Right. Yeah, we'll get to that. Bizarrely though, I'll just say, and Taylor I trust. That's basically what I'm going to say.
I tweeted at Taylor after I read this. I'm like, oh, what the hell? I need answers.
Right.
And friend of the show, Talking Superman, responded to my tweet with something that I will say what he tweeted exactly when we get to who it was. But it was notable that Taylor liked his response to
okay, all right. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. So basically, once Deadshot does this, but before I want to talk about Deadshot making this choice, because I think Deadshot being the character who kind of stumbled into their secret plan, this group, because they had their plan within the plan. They wanted to be part of Suicide Squad so they could do this stuff. And issue 2 or 3 is when Deadshot kind of stumbled into it, and they made the choice to let Deadshot live. I think there's something about Deadshot making the choice to go from just accepting his fate and working for the Suicide Squad, working for Locke, after Waller, and just accepting that he's this prisoner, that he can't do anything, but then making the choice here to actually fight for something, that he won't just be a dog, he won't just lay down and do what he's told. It actually feels quite an uplifting moment, even for a character like Deadshot, who's a bit of an anti-hero, who does some questionable things at times.
And he was on that Secret Six team, and he had the same, not the same exact arc, but he has the same kind of arc where Catman's kind of the main character of that book, but Floyd's like his counter on it, and you see him accept the Secret Six as a family, because he's the one that's just like, no, no, no. And here Taylor gets to it to where, like you said, he's not going to be resigned to this fate of being on the Suicide Squad. He's in control, and
as much as he would never,
right.
I don't think he would ever admit this, but I think you can maybe read into this that he's almost a little inspired by these people around him. That them doing this and fighting back the way they have is maybe created an itch that he didn't know he had, or pointed out something that he maybe felt already, that he's not, now he's willing to fight back. He hopes again to I guess put it in sort of the broadest term. So they run around fighting, and Jog runs around just getting all the triggers for all the bombs in the necks, and gets all but one, which then blows up him, and he sort of says his goodbye. He's like chasing them down. It's kind of this thank you moment, and then we get this glorious shot in silhouette of his head just disappearing with the blinding light. It's wonderful.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I was reading this as he was kind of bringing Osita into, I'm going to borrow a term from the TV show, flash time, so to speak here.
Yeah.
Like, this was all in that instant of the thumb being pressed, and brought Osita into the speed with him to kind of have that goodbye moment.
I never really thought about it, but it seems like that's probably the case.
If you go like 2 pages before the explosion of his head happens, the bottom panel is actually the reflection in his goggles of the button starting to be pressed, and then you have the whole page with Osita. So I was assuming that was all like him bringing her into the speed, and maybe I'm reading that wrong, but no, I like that. That's it, just established as a little beat.
Yeah, no, I think they may have something there. The idea that in the time it takes for the signal of the button to reach his neck to trigger the explosion, he has this split second to say something at super speed. Yeah, no, it's a neat moment. And then so you have this bright explosion panel with the boom, and then this sort of muted panel where it's just the blood spatter on Osita's face as she sort of got her eyes shut. It's really effective,
especially as if I'm right, she's the only one who heard that goodbye. So she's the only one who had that moment. Everyone else is in shock, even more than she is, because she kind of had a slight preparation maybe.
And then there's that glorious panel on the next page of her walking up to the guy who just pressed this button, he's the only one left, it's worth mentioning, of the team, who were fighting against him. And she's just in complete shadows, like her face is covered, she's this imposing figure, and the guy is shitting himself. It's good stuff. Deadly Six uses his powers to make him
greedy,
yeah.
Self-preservation.
So he'll sort of like do what he's told, with the promise of things, and Yeah, so we find out who Locke was working for, and I actually sort of, there was a moment of shock, and then there was a moment of, I wonder what Matt thinks of this. I think Matt's going to be upset about that.
I'm upset. I was like, what the hell? What are you doing?
So the person who's behind this is none other than Ted Cord.
Yeah. Who
Like, what?
this is like. So my introduction to Ted Cord was the Infinite Crisis special, where he ends up being killed by Max Lord because he's the only one that's able to piece things together on his own, and it's this very selfless sacrifice of him trying to stop things.
Him has such a strong character as being the only one to figure this out.
Yeah, because he's the only one looking, and no one will listen to him, and and his death ends up kicking everything off, and he's a sacrificial lamb. And then that's been it as far as I've been reading comics. Like, I've gone back and read like I Can't Believe It's Not the Justice League and whatnot, and him and Booster Gold, and there's a whole part of Booster solo series where he tries to go back, but if he goes back and saves Ted, it completely ruins the timeline.
Yeah, there was the stuff with him with as the Blue Beetle with Jaime.
The Star
Rebirth, and
and obviously,
he's a blank slate.
It obviously popped up in Heroes in Crisis as well.
Right.
It was there with Booster Gold there. Yeah.
He was.
There's no point debating this. It happened.
So I'm not questioning it. I was like, did he? But
there's this awkward pause afterwards as if I'm expected to prove it. Like, no, it happened. Let's move on.
I wasn't expecting to prove it. I was like, did he? Like, genuine, surprise.
Yeah. So yeah, we get this reveal of Ted and the other characters, where Osea kind of like faces him down over the phone because he's on a call because they made the guy call him, and Ted's like, I want you, if I were you, I'd surrender, and if I were you, Ted, and she says start running. So we end in this full page spread of the whole team, including Harley and Deadshot, and even Boomerang,
and Zebra. He's joining them too.
He looks terrified of jumping out that window.
Oh, Boomerang does? Yeah, Boomerang's
Zebra.
Oh, well, I mean, I think Boomerang does too. It looks like he's clutching that rope for dear life.
Oh no, he looks like he's clutching it, but Zebra's face is like, oh god, what are we doing?
Oh no, what have I done? What did I get myself into?
Yeah, sure.
I think it's notable that this is kind of like, I think intentionally kind of like almost a play in the classic Dark Knight Returns cover, where instead of like jumping in front of lightning at night time, they're jumping in front of the sun in the bright daylight, and they're all kind of like, they're all instead of being in this dramatic pose, it's a variety of different things, kind of pointing out the differences between them all and how much of an eclectic mix it is.
His pose is relatively close.
Yeah, she's probably the one with the most of a mission statement, right? She's the one that's the most. Mm-hmm. No, she's nothing like Batman, but she's the one with the most of a war and crime to be declared kind of thing.
Very clearly established herself as kind of the leader of the revolutionaries.
Yeah. Well, she's the one that put them together.
Yeah.
To get vengeance on the Suicide Squad.
I wonder.
She's the most drive.
I wonder if they actually take the name Suicide Squad now and sort of adopt it and say, no, we're going to call ourselves this now. Mm-hmm.
That's what I was gonna. Yeah. Is that because Booster's not gonna be a fan of Ted. I'm gonna say that much. This is why he's hanging out with Harley Quinn now.
Booster would slap him around, being like, "What the hell are you playing at, Blue?"
Exactly. And so, Cord goes, I don't think you realize how much trouble you're in. You don't know how many interests are tied in this little operation. How important your silence is to some very powerful, unforgiving people." And I try to think of, is there any other character that they could have put, that Taylor could have put in here, like a rich character in DC, where it would have been this chilling, and I don't think he could have.
Yeah, it was surprising. It was genuinely
and this
surprising.
coming from Ted, who the most I know of him is he's this fun-loving, like, sure, he has Cord Industries, right? Like, it's this, but he's kind of a buffoon. His best friend's
Cord
Booster Gold.
Industries is essentially a means to an end for him to do his superheroing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll let Connor tell us what tweet he liked in a minute, because that may actually point us in a direction, but
Yeah.
My first thought was, well, is it really Ted? Is this a doppelganger or a shapeshifter? Is there something else going on here? My mind was sort of thinking, okay, what the possibilities here is to explain why Ted's behind this.
It's possible. I don't think so, given that he is in the Cord Industries office. Like, it's not just him looking over the phone. It cuts to show us him in the office, and I mean, sure, a doppelganger could be there anyway, but I feel like that would be too easy almost at that point.
I mean, it could be, but I mean, possibilities.
Yeah, no, I'm not ruling that entirely. The tweet was really simple because it was like, hey, Tom Taylor, what the damn hell? We need answers.
Right.
And Talking Superman just responded with, maybe the answer is rich people suck. And that's what Tom Taylor liked.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just the implication that maybe Ted's not the guy we thought he was.
No, and that's what makes it so chilling. Was that all a front? Is this a new version of Ted that Taylor's going to build from the ground up? Because if this is someone like Lex, it doesn't have the same power. We're like, oh, it's Lex doing Lex stuff.
I mean, if
What's
it was
interesting is he tries to not present as villainous. He's like, look, I've been pretty sympathetic to what you've been through. I don't want to see you hurt. I've got effective friends I can send after you, and there are other people who care about this more than I do, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, if it was Lex, it wouldn't be a bad reveal. It'd be like, oh, that's fun. Lex is behind this new Suicide Squad.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have been like, I got to Ted Cord and it was a serious what the
Oh, of
F
course.
moment.
I mean, that's my point, is that Ted's shocking, whereas Lex would be a fun reveal, but it wouldn't be a surprising reveal. It'd be because the surprise there wouldn't be that Lex would do this kind of thing. It would more just be that, oh, wait, now the Suicide Squad is under the power of Lex Luthor and not the government. It's not Amanda Waller answering for the government. It's Lex Luthor doing shady things with this team that used to be elsewhere. But Ted's like, wait, what's Ted's goal? Why is he doing this? Like, there's questions.
It seemed like the Max Lord reveal. You know what I mean? Like, that's the next best thing I could think of is when Max Lord was revealed to be behind the OMAC stuff. And
Ted
they kick off to Infinite Crisis.
Ted Cord becoming Maxwell Lord is an interesting dynamic to play with.
No, it is.
I'm sure that's an intentional choice as well.
I think so too, and the fact that if the way that he sees this, where Max Lord was like, these superheroes are ruining the planet, I'm gonna take it back using my telepathy and OMAX, versus Ted Cord going like, no, this is a project that there's a lot of stuff wrapped up in. I think it makes that dynamic to where he's not necessarily a bad guy, he's just tied up in something. And now he has a target on him. And
something really interesting is, Ted mentions here, he has some highly effective friends he can send after them. Yeah. Judging by the next time hint, Batman.
Yeah,
Batman is the friend he's sending after them.
Yeah, at that point, like, okay, does Batman understand what Ted's doing? Is there actually like a reasonable explanation for it that actually the heroes would be on side with?
It's possible, or it's more just, hey, the Suicide Squad got out of hand.
Yeah.
And Batman's like, well, sure, they're all villains. I'll go and they escaped that leash. Can you go and help out?
But look who's running with the Revolution, right? So the Revolutionaries, as far as people tell in the DC universe, go up and stir shit up, right? And they ended up with the Suicide Squad, as far as they know. But look who else is running with them now. It's Deadshot, Harley, Captain Boomerang. That doesn't necessarily, to the general public, make the Revolutionaries look like
it's completely tarnished
on the side of the Angels,
image, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Right. And so, of course, if Ted's like, hey, Bruce, Harley and Deadshot are out stirring up trouble with these Revolutionaries. We had them and they got out. Of course, he's going to side with his longtime buddy.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he? Yeah. So I love how complex this is. Taylor has made this simple reveal. And maybe I'm just reading too much into it as a DC Comics continuity.
No, I don't think you are. I think this is wonderfully intricate, and I feel like in 5 issues he's packed more like good character development mixed with stories it's had genuine reveals and surprising moments throughout, to the point where it's on a different level. Like, there's a reason why we sit and like talk about Tom Taylor, and it's funny because a lot of the other Tom Taylor stuff that I really like, it's not even about the like twists and turns. It's just really good character work where I really care about what the characters are going through. So the choices they make, the decisions that they make, and the overall arcs they have are really impactful. It's what we talked about last time with Deceased and Killables issues 3. That's why that was so good, and it played into the history of DC Universe. On top of that, this is doing something completely different where I mean, there's a lot about history there. We're talking about history that's maybe playing with the Ted Kord stuff, but ultimately here we're talking about just how many balls he's juggling this basically without ever feeling like he's actually struggling, to the point where it feels like a masterclass in writing.
I think it's impressive at how much he manages to work on at the same time and all be this high quality. Because obviously we've had Deceased. When he was writing this, we'll have had Deceased, maybe the start of the digital one. This, within a couple of issues, we'll be getting to he'll be writing the script for whatever this book he's teasing is. That's like a good amount of ongoing stuff that he's doing every month.
Well, plus he has a creator-owned thing coming out that all his friends are tweeting out, which I'm going to check out because it is Tom Taylor.
This is the one from Boom, I think. The
seven
Seven Secrets.
There you go.
And but like I remember you guys talking up All New Wolverine, right? And when I started reading, I was like, this is good. And then I got to Enemy of the State 2, where it just completely takes over and it plays with those emotions. And this issue really reminded me of what worked there, where it's not exactly what you think is going on, and he still pulls you. Like, I care more about Jog in this one issue than I have about Barry Allen in I can't tell you how long, right?
Exactly.
The only thing is they're both speedsters that want to do good, right? Like,
I mean, that's irrelevant. It's just good writing. That's all. As you can compare it to any character.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I really care about Barry Allen, right? Like, I'm jumping back into Flash because of, not because of the writing. And
in spite of the writing.
Right. Yet here, this character that I have zero ties to, just the way that Taylor handled him, I'm now sad that he's gone. Like, I was like, I want more of him, so.
That's the pros and cons of a Suicide Squad book, I guess.
Yeah, right? And it's lining up on everything he said, where he's like, don't get attached. Right? He warned us.
No, he did. He was very fair. He said I distinctly remember him saying the team at the end of the second issue isn't necessarily everyone who was there in the first issue, and by the end of the arc, it will feel very fresh again. And I remember him saying that when the book launched, and it's true.
Yeah, if I was getting into comics at this point, this feels weirdly Johnsian. And I know that's weird to say because he's not really playing with continuity, but it is fresh. So he's taking these things like Ted Kord, and that's a very, to me, Jeff Johns things to do. Like, look what he did with Max Lord. That was him and Rucka. Yeah, so I would be totally, if this might have been the book that got me into comics, like some of the John stuff did. So, good showing out of Tom Taylor.
Yeah, obviously we mentioned the art here or there as we were going through the story, but it is also very good. That's why I'd say not ignore that aspect of it because it is wonderful.
Some fantastic ones, and I think I mentioned this on like every issue of the squad, but Adriana Lucas deserves a special shout out for the colors being spectacular on this book and making it what it is. Like that panel with the Jog's head explosion, that boom, those colors are absolutely sublime.
And there's two well, I mean, it's not really head explosion with Locke, right? But they're both head trauma, and they're both played very differently. And I think a lot of that is the colors and the.
I actually think the Jog head explosion works even better because Locke's head splattering is covered up with with the censorship logo, and by having that there, you're like, oh, okay, we're not allowed to really show that. There's limits. And then you get to the head explosion, and there's nothing. It's just it basks in the moment of how horrific this is.
Well, I mean, the contrast says a lot. It's almost like, this is a character you're happy to see die. So, so you get the fun kind of goofy kind of take on it, even though it's kind of a shocking moment because Deadshot just made this choice. But then you get to this moment with Jog, and instead it basks in the humanity of it and the actual human connection to it, and it treats it more seriously. So that contrast is wonderful. But yeah, that is issue 5. We're only 5 issues at this book, but it's already wonderful this run. Matt, what are you giving Suicide Squad issue 5?
You guys ready? I'm giving it a 10.
You gave the last Tom Taylor about a 10, Matt.
Sorry, I like Tom Taylor.
Connor.
I mean, it's excellent. I'm gonna give it a 9. I mean, That feels bad now after Matt, but it's not. It's
No,
annoying.
and
God damn it.
no. But still, too. I read this. I got my. When did I get my books? I get them on Wednesday, so I must have read this Thursday, and it was the opposite of what I was talking about in Flash, where I was just like, oh man, Tom Taylor, this book, it put me in a good mood.
I read all the comics
so
today, but this was the first day I read because I was like, oh, that needs to be my priority book.
Yeah,
When I looked at my list.
Yeah, I waited till I had this in physical to read it. Like I could have read it on Tuesday as soon as it came out. Like I did other stuff digitally, but I like no, I'm only buying this physically. That's it. So yeah.
Yeah, I read this first too. This was the when I looked at what I had, I was like, oh wait, no, that's first. Of course, that's first. I was going to give this a 9, just because I can't give everything he does a 10. I have to have some sort of variance to what the
that's fine. I might hey the digital first I might only give an 8.5 to. Who knows?
Oh, so harsh, man. Pull your punches.